So with section 3, we're using elimination. So what that means is we're going to kind of make a variable disappear. So if you look here at this little box, this gray box, we have 3 steps. And the first one is to write the like terms, so our common variables are like terms, with the same or opposite coefficients aligned, okay? So you want them lined up. And then it says add or subtract the equations, eliminating one of the variables. All right, and then we're gonna focus on, we're really always going to be adding whether they like it or not. And that's because the subtraction method is just adding, okay? So we're always adding. And then your last step is to substitute in your one variable to find the other. All right, so let's look at example 1. If you see here, we're going to add these two together and watch what happens when we do. 4x plus 3x, that becomes 7x. 6y plus negative 6y. This here means it's a negative, okay? So 6y plus negative 6y becomes 0, which is equal to, and then 32 plus 33 is 35. Okay, we don't really need to keep writing that. So it just becomes 7x equals 35. And then you can divide by 7 on both sides and tell me that x is equal to 5. Okay? From here, you're just going to take your 5 and plug it into either one of these. You will get the same answer no matter which one you plug it into. So just pick one, plug it in. So I'm going to plug it into the top one. So 4 times 5 for x plus 6y equals 32. That becomes 20 plus 6y equals 32. Subtract 20. Now we're just solving for y. We're just solving an equation. 6y equals 12. Divide by 6 and you'll get that y is equal to 2. So your point here would be 5, 2. And that's your answer. All right, try 1A and 1B and then check back in with me. All right, so for the first one, you would plug in, the 4x's here, that's what canceled out. That went to 0, leaving me with 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2y, and then negative 3 plus 5 was 2. So negative 2y is equal to 2. Divide by your negative 2, and you get that y is equal to negative 1. You come over here and you plug that in and solve, and you'll find that x is equal to 0. Same over here. You needed to first rearrange. So it's the same process, but our first step wasn't done. Like the x's and the y's weren't lined up. So what we had to do is I came over here, and I was like, well, addition is commutative. I can change the order. So I swapped those two. And I just made it 3x plus 4y, because that's the same thing. And then I can now, over here, my x's are lined up and my y's are lined up. 3x plus 3x was 6x. 4y minus 4y went to 0. Add 22 and 14, you get 36. You solve all the way down to get x is equal to 6. I plugged it into the bottom one and got that y was equal to 1. So my point was 6, 1. Okay? If you look at example 2, it says negative 3 times a number plus 5 times another number is 11. So what that means is negative 3 times a number, negative 3x, plus 5 times another number, which means it's a different number. It's not the same one. So I'm going to use a different variable, y, and that's equal to negative 11. Okay? There's my first sentence. For 3 times the first number plus 7 times the other number, that would be 3 times the first, so 3x, plus 7 times the other is equal to negative 1. Okay, and now you're just solving like you did above. Negative 3x plus 3x is 0. so I'm not going to write it. 5 plus 7 is 12y, and then is equal to negative 12. Divide by your 12, and you get y is equal to negative 1. Pick one of them to plug it back into. We'll go with the top one this time because we went with the bottom last time. So negative 3x plus 5 times negative 1 is equal to negative 11. Negative 3x plus 5 times negative 1 would be negative 5 equals negative 11. Add your 5. You get negative 3x equals not stop with my nose running. Negative 7, sorry. And then you divide by negative 3. And you get x is equal to positive 7/3. Okay? There's our point. I lied. I knew something wasn't right there. That's why I was kind of pausing there. Negative 11 plus 5 is negative 6. So that's negative 2. So it's negative 2, negative 1. Knew something wasn't right. Alright, go ahead and try number 2. Alright, for guided practice 2, you would solve here. So you needed to set them up. The sum of two numbers, that means sum means add, so it's x plus y is negative 10. And then the first number times negative 3 minus the second, so that's negative 3x minus y, and that's 2. So I'm going to add them up and find what the numbers are. I'm going to use my elimination. So my y's go away. X plus negative 3 becomes negative 2x equals negative 10 plus 2 is 8, negative 8. You divide, you'll get x is equal to 4. Plug in 4, I plugged in as the top one, so 4 plus y is equal to negative 10. Y then is equal to negative 14. Okay? Now the only difference with example 3 versus 1 and 2. Your variable isn't going to go away. Okay, so let's start solving this and see what happens. All right, so my variables aren't lined up with each other, so the first thing I'm going to do is apply my rule of commutative property and move the order of things. So I'm going to change this bottom one. I'm just going to flop them around because it's commutative, it's all addition. I can do that. So 2t plus 5r equals 6, and then 2t plus 9r equals 22. The issue here is that when I add these as is, my t's aren't going to go away. 2t plus 2t is 4t. It doesn't cancel out. So we're not getting rid of a variable. I'm not eliminating anything, so it's not helping to do this. So what I'm going to do is get a little tricky. And what that means is you can take one of these two and multiply it by a negative 1. If you multiply everything in there by a negative 1, that's the same as doing subtraction. It's the same as, it doesn't really change the value of the equation. It doesn't change anything in the equation. It's just kind of being tricky. So we're going to multiply one of these by a negative 1. Okay, so this top one is 2t plus 5r equals 6. And now this is negative 2t minus 9r, negative 22. Now I'm going to add those together. So 2t plus negative 2t, that's 0. 5r plus negative 5r becomes negative 4r. And then negative 22 plus 6 gives you, or 6 plus negative 22 is negative 16. Okay. Divide both sides by 4. And you'll get that r is equal to negative 4. Plug it back in to find t. So 2t plus 5 times Negative 4 equals 6. 2t is minus 20 equals 6. 2t, and then you add over your 20 is equal to 26. And then you get t is equal to 13. Okay? To figure out which order to put these in, it's alphabetical. When it's not x and y, I mean x and y as well because x comes before y, but when you don't have x and y, you know which order to put them in because they're always in alphabetical order. So QRST means R should come first. So it's negative R, comma, 13. All right? Okay. I'm going to skip number 3 and jump right into number 4 because, and I'm only going to set it up because I don't want to insult you by continually solving things you don't need to see me solve. So I'm going to help you set up number 4. I'm going to pause it, solve it, and then let you check back in and see if you got it right. Okay, so let's look at number 4. It says, Cheryl and Jackie work in an ice cream shop. Cheryl earns $9.25 every hour, but we don't know how many hours she works, right? We just know she earns $9.25 an hour. And then Jackie earns $8.75 an hour. Okay, but again, we don't know how many hours a week she works. But it says during a typical week, Cheryl and Jackie earn $334.75 together. So if I take basically Jackie's pay per hour times the number of hours Jackie works. I'm sorry, this is Cheryl. $9.25 is Cheryl. 925 times C, where C is representing hours Cheryl works. And J is going to represent the hours Jackie works. And I think I'm spelling their names all sorts of wrong, but it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to use this information to set it up. All right. So during a typical week, they make $334.75. That's at the end of the week. That's what they have combined together. So if I take Cheryl's hours plus her pay per hour and add it to Jackie's pay per hour times her hours worked, I'm going to get the total they make. Okay, because this is basically how much Cheryl makes, and this is how much Jackie makes in a week, and then together they make $334.75. After that, it says 1 week Jackie doubles her work hours. Okay, so it's a typical week, but Jackie worked twice as many hours. So I'm going to take this $9.25 for Cheryl because hers didn't change, but now I have twice as many hours for Jackie. And then that week they made $466. Okay. You're going to multiply those together. So 2 times 8, 75. Okay, and then the second equation will become $9.25 for Cheryl plus $17.50 for Jackie. And it's going to equal 466. Okay, and those are the two that you need to figure out. How am I going to make them cancel? Okay, so go ahead and pause me, come back in to check it out, see what I did. Okay, so here's my work, and you can see where I solved. I had to multiply by -1 for my bottom equation. You could have done the top, it doesn't matter, to make my 925s for Cheryl cancel out. Got that Jackie worked 15 hours. Plugged that in, solved that equation to get that Cheryl works 22 hours. And it's a word problem, so you have to answer using sentences. Okay?